We see the phone wars every year. Apple versus Samsung, Google versus Pixel, Xiaomi versus everybody. But what if I told you that these so-called rivals actually are working together behind the scenes? Samsung builds part of Apple. Apple pays its enemy billions. Google uses Samsung chips. This is the secret world of phone rivals who secretly build for each other. And once you see it, you will never look at your phone the same way again. Let's start with the biggest shocker. Apple, the company that never misses a chance to diss Samsung, actually uses Samsung to make their OLED screen. From the iPhone X up to the iPhone 15 Pro Max, Samsung Display has been Apple's top supplier for OLED panels. In fact, as of 2024, Samsung made more than 70% of Apple's iPhone displays. LG and BOE supply the rest, but Samsung still leads. So Samsung makes Apple screens, OLED screens. Why? Because no matter how much they compete, Samsung still makes the best OLEDs in the world. So yes, that iPhone you're holding might just have a Samsung hat. Does that break your heart? Don't let it break your heart. Give me a red heart in this content. Thank you. Now, Apple also uses Sony and LG for iPhone camera. The camera sensor in your iPhone, especially in the Pro and Pro Max models, are made by none other than Sony. Sony supplies most of the high-end camera sensors across the industry. As a matter of fact, I'm shooting this video with a Sony camera. Now you can see how crisp and clear it is. That's why you can never compare an iPhone camera to a Sony camera. I'm not saying a Sony phone camera, a Sony camera. So it is different. So Sony actually makes for Apple, and from Samsung to Xiaomi to Apple, they make their camera sensors. And in some iPhones, LG Innotek supplies the camera modules, especially for the Face ID and the LiDAR. So while Apple makes big moves in software and chip design, it heavily relies on camera rivals to stay on top in the photo quality. Now, the next one is that Qualcomm powers everyone. When it comes to smartphone processor, Qualcomm is a quiet giant. They don't make noise, but they are doing crazy things. Samsung Galaxy S24 from the non-Exynos regions, those ones, Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 is made by Qualcomm. Xiaomi, Infinix, Tecno, they are all Snapdragon. Even flagship Androids from OnePlus, Oppo, and Asus powered by Qualcomm. But wait, there is more. Apple and Qualcomm were in a lawsuit over 5G modems, and still Apple had to settle and buy Qualcomm modems for the iPhone 12 to iPhone 15. It is amazing when you get to know some of these secrets. Yes, Apple couldn't roll out 5G without its enemy, Qualcomm. That's how deep the game is, the politics. You know what I'm talking about. The next one is BBK Electronics. One family, many faces. If you have ever wondered why OnePlus, Oppo, Vivo, and Realme phones feel strangely similar, here is why. They are all owned by one parent company, BBK Electronics. That's right. These competitors are part of the same family tree. BBK split their brands to target different markets. They create competition. They cover every price point. Now, internally, they share parts, factory, and even software features. Their names will suggest that to you. So when you see a Realme phone with the same design as an Oppo or a OnePlus feature that is just renamed ColorOS, now you know why. It's a strategic competition. The next one I'd like you to know is the Google Pixel's phone uses Samsung chips. Google makes the Pixel, and they talk a lot about made by Google. But did you know that Google's custom Tensor chip is actually co-developed with Samsung? Yeah, Tensor is based on Samsung Exynos architecture. Google didn't build this architecture from scratch. They partner with Samsung Silicon team to tweak the cores, AI, and the machine learning features. This brought us to the Google Pixel. So when you pick a Pixel over a Galaxy, you are still getting a Samsung brain under the hood. That's wild, but that's right. BOE versus Samsung, but Apple uses both. In recent years, China's BOE has been trying to beat Samsung in the OLED game. Apple, always looking to reduce costs, began outsourcing OLED panels for lower-end iPhones, like the iPhone 14, 15 standard models. So they got their screen from BOE, but for the Pro Max, the Pro and the Pro Max, they get it from Samsung. But even with BOE's progress, Samsung still makes the best high-end OLEDs. So Apple uses both companies, combining. Meaning, even when companies are battling for dominance, they still share clients at the top. Now, Apple is also TSMC's biggest customer. Finally, let's talk about TSMC, the chip manufacturing beast from Taiwan. Now, they build Apple's A series and M series chips. They also build chips for Qualcomm, Nvidia, AMD, and even MediaTek. So while Apple tries to reduce dependence on others, TSMC is literally their factory. In 2024, Apple accounted for over 25% of TSMC's total revenue. Now, think about this. That same factory also builds chips for Apple's biggest rivals in AI, graphics, and mobile. In this game, everyone shares the same playground, and that playground is TSMC. So the next time you hear Apple versus Samsung or Pixel versus Galaxy, just remember they probably have the same display or share the same chip factory or use the same camera supply. In tech, the real competition is not always about fighting. It's about control, negotiation, and quiet cooperation. These companies might battle in public, but in private, they're shaking hands together. What surprised you the most? Did you know your iPhone might be part Samsung? Drop a comment and let's talk about it. And if you enjoyed this, hit the like, subscribe, and share it with someone who still thinks phone companies are fighting like Arsenal and Man U. I'll see you in the next one.